Hello and welcome to Sam's on Wrestling, and this is our round table, specifically a controversial topic, where we will take a topic that is either our own opinion, devil's advocate, doesn't actually have to be our opinion, a devil's advocate just for the fun, or something that has been said on Twitter a lot recently that we want to maybe bring out as a, to represent you guys and stuff like that, because we also want you our in the comments as well, your controversial opinions, and we will discuss them. So people don't feel they've got a safe place to talk about wrestling. They feel like tribalism, and they feel like the minute they say something, they get accused. This is our safe place for you to say something that's against the norm.
And it's okay to have different opinions.
It is okay.
What a wild concept.
It's
all right.
absolutely fine. There is no absolute in wrestling. So I'm joined today.
Absolution.
They're not even an absolute. No. They're absolute crap. I am joined today by Baby Sam.
Hello there and good evening.
How are you feeling?
I am feeling controversial today.
You feeling like a bit of Eric Bischoff? We'll end it there. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Sam, you can go first today. What is your controversial opinion?
Now, I think I've done very well here because I've based it on a bit of a Royal Rumble theme.
January time.
But it's something I've thought about. So, which is
that
good.
Makes a change.
Yeah, I know.
You've had a think.
I've actually had to think about this.
Had a think.
Yeah. I think Vince McMahon winning the Royal Rumble in 1999 was a brilliant decision. Hear me out. I think it was a great idea of a bit of booking. I am not justifying the execution. Okay, so I think the Rumble itself, the way they did it, with basically most of it not even being in the ring, that is not good. That is a terrible Rumble.
It's also a bad Rumble.
It's a terrible Rumble. You've got no one in there other than Austin and
there's no stars.
Vince. No. So it's a bad Rumble. I'm not disputing that. I think the decision to have Vince win it is great. Here's why. Austin.
Hey Simon.
Hi.
How you doing?
Didn't think I'd bring him up today. I think so. Austin had just won 2 Rumbles in a row.
Yeah, that's actually the biggest problem I think that went into it.
Everyone knew Austin was going to ultimately go and challenge The Rock at WrestleMania. We just knew it was going to happen, and it did, which is fine. Sometimes predictable is good, but sometimes predictable is way too predictable. Him just winning the Rumble and eliminating Vince. Okay, what do you really achieve? What you've done with Vince winning it, you've created a twist, but not for the sake of a twist. You've created a road to WrestleMania. Now you go, it's thrown up in the air. Wait, Vince has won it? What happens when people aren't too aware of the backstage politics?
No. So you've got to keep it solely on camera.
Exactly. So now people are like, what happens now? How does Austin get to WrestleMania? You've got a story. If he just won the Rumble, fine. But then you go, okay, so we're just going to build to Rock and Austin for 2 months. Okay. There's no intrigue. This created intrigue.
And they'd already done Rock and Austin at 15.
No, this is building to 15.
Is this 15?
This is 15.
Sorry, I'm in my own world.
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it actually creates a road to WrestleMania. And then you have the match at Valentine's Day, when Big Show turns up, the steel cage.
Yeah.
You have that. So Vince isn't going to WrestleMania. I don't think there's an issue. Maybe you could do it as, another wrestler wins it to get him over. But no, Austin McMahon is the best feud possibly of all time, and this gives Vince a really big win over Austin, where you go, he's now got to somehow get to WrestleMania, and he does, and I think that's a great twist, and you don't expect it to happen. You build Vince kind of really, really bad in training and stuff, and the whole payoff to it.
Brilliant. My comment was actually going to be the build up to the match is actually phenomenal.
It's brilliant, but you never think he's going to actually win, and he does. And I think that's a really good decision. The Rumble's terrible. We can all agree on that. Vince winning is great.
The thing I always think about about the 99 Royal Rumble, let's get a few things straight. First of all, I despise Vince winning the Royal Rumble.
Sure.
I absolutely hate it.
But then you're supposed to.
I hate it so much. No, I hate it.
Okay.
I hate it in general.
Okay.
I hate it from a backstage thing. I hate it from an on-camera thing. I'd have still had Austin win it. They didn't want to do 3 in a row. But this is what happens when you have the main event of WrestleMania be decided by a match. If you have the same people who are going to be in the match over and over and over again, this is the problem you actually run into. A few things I'll say to this match. First of all, the training montage for Vince running after chickens in the snow and stuff like that. It's hilarious. And then he enters the Rumble and oh my God, he's jacked. And it's this bloke who's been in a suit and there's like, are you Hulk? Oh yeah, yeah. But absolute Hulk.
Yeah.
And then it just goes downhill from there. I actually have no problem with Austin being taken out in the bathroom and being taken out of the match.
Wait, that's out of context.
Vince Russo loved a bathroom.
Yeah.
He put so many things in bathrooms, it was ridiculous. But Vince didn't need to be second in the Rumble. I actually think he could have.
That's where you go a little bit.
I think he should have come later to actually have the match have more intrigue, because it ended immediately. It wasn't like they were in the ring for 10 minutes and then went out. They literally left when Golga entered at number 3. And you're just like, oh, okay, that's it. Gold gets eliminated by Austin. Vince has already run off, and they're out. So now you've got no stars. There's nothing happening in the ring. I think Droz enters. I think there's a Christian or an Edge enters, and there's nothing going on. It's the most mid-cardy thing ever. So what you're saying in terms of it's the only story, it's pretty much the only 2 stars that can be put in it, because Kane goes in it and gets eliminates himself.
Yeah.
Undertaker doesn't enter it for some reason. He does the ministry thing and abducts Viscera, or Mabel at the time. So there's no stars in the match. Triple H isn't there yet. Jarrett's nothing. Ken Shamrock isn't big. So the only people who actually realistically could win the match were Vince and Austin. But I just hated it because it didn't actually lead to WrestleMania. It didn't. If Vince had gone, okay, I'm going to pick my representative to represent me at WrestleMania. And this is where Austin wins the title instead, and then The Rock is the Vince's representative. Yeah, that'd be much better.
But then I think it's the chasing. Oh, you'd want Austin chasing.
But Austin didn't need chasing. He already chased the 2 years prior.
Yeah.
The problem is he had him win the 97 Rumble and then didn't go to Mania. Why have him win then?
Yeah.
Why do it? It didn't put him over. What put him over was the match with Brett, and Brett didn't want to do the match because they'd already had a match at Survivor Series. He was like, "Oh, we've done everything we can possibly do." Do you have
Turns out they hadn't.
Do you have a submission move, Austin? No. That was the conversation. But like, okay, you don't. You can do a leg lock halfway through, and then obviously 98 he wins and goes to WrestleMania that year with Shawn. But like, I don't want it. I didn't want Vince to win. It's the distraction finish and then someone throwing someone out from behind.
Yeah, but you can't have him win clean. You've got to have shenanigans.
No, I don't mind, but it's like, is Vince really good enough to throw Austin over the top rope even with a distraction?
Look at how jacked he's going to throw him.
I hate this, Sam, so much. I've never disagreed with a controversial opinion.
But do you not see my point?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It creates a more interesting road to WrestleMania. And at the time...
I think the problem is they didn't. Like, I always, sadly, my brain mixes up Vince winning the title and Vince winning the Rumble, and my brain goes, oh, he cashed in his Royal Rumble and won the title off Triple H. I'm like, oh, hang on, that's wrong. So my brain actually has to...
I'm not justifying that.
No, I know, my brain has to reprogram Vince winning the title, because for some reason I've put those two as the same thing. And I have no memory of what happens with Vince and getting over to Austin, because it doesn't matter. And it just met. And you knew it was going to be Austin anyway. So by having it to Vince and then to not do anything, that was the problem I think I had. If Vince's going to win, I want something really interesting.
Yeah,
and they didn't do it.
This is the thing. So my controversial opinion is purely on the decision to go, who's winning the Rumble? Let's actually commit and have Vince win it. I think is way more interesting. And you know what? The steel cage match was...
That's actually really good. It's actually really good. It's
Big Show,
the ending's bad.
Yeah.
The ending's... It makes Big Show look like an idiot. Why couldn't Austin just win? And then Big Show attack him at the end.
Chokeslam him through the ring. He hits the floor. Feet hit the floor.
No, I don't like it. It makes him look... It's the same problem. That's how JBL won it. 2005.
But there's already a hole in the ring.
Yes, true.
So,
true. But no, I would rather Big Show have just attacked him at the end and made his debut there, rather than you are now rubbish.
Yeah,
I get that. That match is actually good. That's the only thing I remember in the build up to it. They're going, we're never going to do this pay per view ever again. You're like, why? Valentine's Day Massacre? Nope, never again. It's tough for me, Sam. It's tough. It is pretty controversial. There's so much arguing I can do against it, because I genuinely cannot remember the build for WrestleMania 15.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that
because
is all of itself.
Because let's be honest, WWE at this point is a mess. Not in terms of financials or anything like that. The storytelling is just all over the place. I can barely remember WrestleMania 15.
So they are just about overtaking WCW at this point, because you had the Mankind thing around this time.
Finger poke of doom happened.
Yeah.
It just happened.
So the point is, they had to create really good TV every single week. That's what Russo was doing, that is good TV.
Yeah.
It just is entertaining TV. And wrestling fans in the 90s, and I wish we were more like this now, they didn't care, he's not an actual wrestler, he's,
No, you're right.
Christian deserves it. It's like, no, this is really good entertaining TV. Sam, you've got characters.
Christian deserves it.
No, he does deserve it, but you know what I mean?
No, you are actually right. They just... do you know what helps, though? Is they portrayed those people as non-wrestlers. Vince didn't come in the ring and start beating up Stone Cold.
Exactly.
Vince got destroyed by Stone Cold, and the only thing he did at him was eliminate him. Think about Shane against Orton doing his crazy punches and Orton's killer run in 2009. Like, you can't wrestle. You're not the best in the world. Stop it. Stop taking pictures with
It's a trophy
AEW.
that says otherwise.
I hate it,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you've got it off your chest.
I thought, you know what? I think it's given too much hate, and you don't really think about why.
I think it's given hate because it's Vince.
Yeah, and
it's also a bad Rumble.
Yeah.
It's also a bad Mania. All WrestleManias in the Attitude Era are bad, bar the last one. And
which is perfect. Ish.
One day, controversial.
So, Sam, let's see your controversial opinion. Is it more controversial than mine?
Do you know what? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I reckon so. It's Royal Rumble related as well.
Okay.
You've gone positive. I've gone negative.
Oh.
Okay. Let me explain first. Because you're going to hear this and you're going to go, no. And this is the event, not the Rumble itself. The 2018 Royal Rumble isn't actually that good. Now, everyone raves about this Royal Rumble event. The matches, the Royal Rumbles themselves, and I go, first of all, this is raved for two reasons. One, it's the first not terrible Royal Rumble since 2010. You've had 7 years of awful Rumbles, and they are shocking. Even ones that are kind of, they're okay, 16's okay, 17's okay, they're still bad. Roman Reigns keeps ruining Royal Rumbles. But 2018, the whole event, first of all, that's an okay Rumble. But it's lauded much more because we've had such a run of terrible Rumbles. And it's the first time we've had a Rumble winner we actually wanted. There's not a single one since prior to 2010 that we actually wanted. And everyone was happy. Okay, and you can throw in Asuka as well. But this event, if you actually go through it, isn't great. It's just because it's preceded. It's like if you dated people you would rate like a 2 or a 3, and then suddenly you dated a 6. You're still only dating a 6. It's still average or just above average. That's why people get really annoyed. Oh, you rated me a 6. 6 is fine. It's above average. It's above the 50% of people. If you've just had 2s and 3s, then you'd go, okay, that's an improvement. But it shouldn't get put on a pedestal. First of all, what do you think to that before I go into more detail?
I don't disagree, really. I think you make a valid point, and I've never thought of 2018 as amazing. I think
people put it really up highly.
Yeah, so you're more kind of online on Twitter. So is this kind of what you're basing it on? That you think it's held in a lot higher regard?
I think a lot of people talk about it. When you see like views and videos on YouTube and they go best Rumbles ever, I always feel 2018 gets thrown in there. You go through the matches, right? So first of all, the pre-show is terrible. You've got... Actually, before we even get there, the build... Do you remember what the Raw was before the Royal Rumble 2018?
It was Raw 25, wasn't it?
Which is one of the worst builds to a Royal Rumble you could actually do. Because for a start, let's talk about the Women's Royal Rumble. And you're going... Actually, I'll do that last. But Raw 25 ruins the Women's Royal Rumble. So first of all, you've got... Enzo Amore is meant to be defending the Cruiserweight title. And that's when he gets fired.
Ah, yes, I remember that.
So Cedric Alexander's meant to be facing him. He doesn't even get on the card. They just do a random 6-man tag with nobody in front of nobody. It's an hour and a half for the event. The crowd are empty. And it's just a really boring, cruiserweight.
I wouldn't count that, though.
No, the pre-show was back then was a part of the event, if you remember. It's not. But... Then you had the Good Brothers versus FTR in a Who Cares match.
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
We should make that stipulation in a Who Cares match.
Who cares?
That's great.
And then there's another one. Oh, Bobby Roode does an open challenge for the United States Championship, which he had just won against Jinder on SmackDown, which was meant to be at the Rumble, and everyone thought, they're just going to put him in the Rumble, and then he defended the title anyway against Mojo Rawley. That's your pre-show.
I would get hyped for that.
So if you were watching the pre-show, you ain't turning on to it. If you haven't bought it yet, you're going, that's going to be another bad. Then it opens the show, and you've got Styles versus Owens versus Sam, and you think, those are 3, yes. But what was the feud?
It's a handicap match, isn't it?
But what's the feud? It's Shane and Daniel Bryan. That's the feud. It's all about them. I think Matthew once said there were 2 feuds going on SmackDown at the time, and both of them were Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. And it's absolutely right, Matthew. He's absolutely right. And the match should be amazing, and it's not. And why is the match not amazing? First of all, Kevin's injured. He spends the entire time on the apron. He literally does a couple of kicks, and that's pretty much about it. Sammy's not doing his best work at this point. AJ does his most.
Sammy's not great working as a heel.
I don't think he's a great heel wrestler.
No.
But character-wise, amazing. Yeah. But AJ can't even drag it through to a great match. Crescendo's okay, and that's it. Then you've got the a SmackDown tag title match between the Usos, who just changed gimmick and had a great year, versus, can you remember who they took on?
American Alpha?
Half right. This is Chad Gable with Shelton Benjamin. And it was in a 2 out of 3 falls match, Sam, which the Usos won 2-0 in 12 and a bit minutes. They won the first fall with 12 minutes, and then they won the second fall in a minute. Therefore, making the whole reason pointless. They had loads of near falls in the first one, and then just ended it, and it makes them look like complete idiots. The Shelton and Chad Gable are American Alpha 2. And it's just right. Then we have the Men's Royal Rumble, which is a good Royal Rumble at best. But let's really break into it. Look at the final 6, right? And everyone goes, oh, so generations of like, who wants to watch John Cena in the final 6 again? Who wants to watch Randy Orton in the final 6 again? Who wants to watch a returning Rey Mysterio? As much as we were happy to see Rey,
Great.
he'd just been awful. Terrible. He looked great, but it's like, why is he in the final 6? And on the other side, you've got Finn Balor, who you know my views on Finn Balor, Roman Reigns again, and then Nakamura. Yay, we didn't know what was to come. And then they literally had Cena and Roman had their stare down again, and everyone's like, no, boo.
And Cena's like, Finn, no. It's like, come on.
And so loud. And the build up to it, I can't remember much things that happen in the match outside of Heath Slater getting constantly kicked.
That was brilliant.
Really great. Great moment.
Sheamus.
But what else? Kofi puts his foot on a pancake. It's not a great rumble. It's a solid 6 out of 10 rumble.
Yeah.
And it has a good winner.
Yeah.
But what to do? And then everyone's, I want to go home now. I've had a W title match. I've had a United States Championship match. I've had a rumble. And I've had a tag. I'm done now. I've had my fill. I want to go. And the crowd die.
You're going to after a Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I don't think it's natural to have 2
Rumble should be 2 nights. If they've made SummerSlam this year, it's going to be 2 nights. The one that should be 2 nights is the Royal Rumble. Yeah. And you can make it 2.5 hours, 1 Rumble, 3 matches, easy, right? And then it's Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins versus The Bar. Jason Jordan is injured; he can't wrestle, so Seth's doing it all on his own.
See, you saying that made me
yawn.
yawn.
Are you starting to see this pay-per-view?
It's
not good. And then it builds to the only other thing that's actually had a build outside the Women's Rumble: Brock, Braun, and Kane.
Oh, it's that one.
What's Kane doing
Terrible
there?
match.
Why is the build's been great with the hooks and the tipping.
Yeah.
Why didn't Braun win?
Yeah.
Make a star.
Well, he should have beat Brock about 5 different times.
Yeah, but this is the time. You're not. They wanted to build to Roman versus Brock again. Why? Just do Braun win.
Only for Brock to beat Roman anyway.
Didn't matter.
Yeah.
Just literally, they could have had that match. The match is terrible.
I only remember that for Braun kicking Lesnar, and he just goes bang, and you're like, oh, Lesnar.
But the match is a mess. Kane's gone at this point. Kane shouldn't be anywhere near a WWE title match. It's awful. Braun wasn't ready, and Brock didn't care in that match. So that's bad. Even though it was really fun build-up, the match just stank. And then they had the Women's Royal Rumble, the first ever, which is again why it's lauded. The first ever. But again, if you watch this match, first of all, do you know how many people were on the books?
I think it was about like 18-ish, wasn't
18.
Yeah.
Well, it was actually 21, but Foxy's injured, and you've got your 2 champions. So you've got 18. So you have to go to the Rolodex. Who can we bring out? And here's the problem. Women legends, A, are older, and B, barely could wrestle anyway. Take out your Trish and people like that who could still go. No one could go, bar maybe Michelle McCool. And everyone else is not a good wrestler. But the problem is, they just had Raw 25. They announced them all there. So I've already seen Jacqueline, I've already seen Molly Holly and Tori Wilson and Kelly. So it's not as big a surprise. I was happy to see them. But that's all the match was. Little mini pops. Because the match itself, for the first 16, at least, there isn't a spot.
Yeah.
There's not a single spot. It's Vicky. When Vicky comes out and does the excuse me, that's the first spot. And then the match, again, dies again. And only until Nia Jax rocks up do they actually start telling stories, and the last kind of bit is okay. Then another thing that probably will end up in the lockbox one day, someone does an amazing elimination save and then gets eliminated immediately
Kofi all the
afterwards.
time that happened.
But Naomi stealing Kofi's spot, because it's pretty much the then walk along the barrier, what Jomo did, and then got a chair, drag along, you're just doing the same thing. But the problem I also had with the match is twofold. One, these legends eliminated way too many people who were wrestlers. Like, it was ridiculous how many bring them in, real pop, get them to be eliminated by a Dana Brooke or someone like that. And they didn't. Dana Brooke gets eliminated by, a Lita or whoever it was. Mandy Rose got eliminated by Lita, and they're eliminated by legends who couldn't work. Kelly, Tori Wilson couldn't work when they were actually in the business, and they get to it, it couldn't work. And then who is the fucking final 3?
I know, it really annoys me.
The Bella
Bellas
twins,
Asuka.
and they're only there because of Total Divas, and they talked about Total Divas, and then obviously Brie Bella gets eliminated by Nikki for Total Divas. It is awful, and then they botch the finale anyway.
Yeah, kicks her in the knee.
Asuka doesn't. She doesn't touch her though, and she goes, "It's awful," and then Asuka doesn't even get a moment because we need Ronda Rousey. Great idea, great pop, fair enough, but she wasn't going for any of these three, you know. And to point over and over and over again and smile. So Asuka's like...
A jacket that was too big for her.
Yeah, but it's not her.
I know,
so
it's not
fine.
her.
I don't
get
mind
it,
that.
but...
So get back down. I hate how much praise this Rumble gets. It is a solid 6 event. The matches are all mediocre to bad, at best. Both Rumbles... The first Rumble I would give a 7. The women's one I would give a 5, at best. There's some good spots when Nia Jax comes in... Asuka's really good. Trish and Mickey do some good stuff. Becky gets eliminated way too early. Yeah. Bayley's dead at this point. She's going nowhere. So she comes out 29 to no pop. Imagine Bayley coming out to no pop. I know. This Rumble is nowhere near... The winners... Happy with the winners. And that's what Lords it is. The winners are happy. They're happy with the winners.
It shows you how that can change the perception of it. And the endings of that. I mean, less so the women's one. Yeah. I think the men's... Nostalgia is a wonderful thing, and people like John Cena, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio. And you know what? There is a part of it that because that decade was filled with terrible, terrible Royal Rumbles. It just
seven in a row.
And I think fans, especially me myself, growing up watching Royal Rumbles.
Yeah, because your first was 2010,
2009.
2009, right?
Was my first one.
I skived off school to watch that.
Yeah, yeah. 2010 was my just so special in my heart, but. Since that, I hadn't watched a live, really good Royal Rumble. My friends, we'd watch it together. This before I met you. We'd watch it together, and every single year, we'd be like, well, that was terrible. And we didn't use the word terrible. Yeah. We just hated it and were so let down every time. It was nice to actually go, you know what? We watched a Royal Rumble, and we enjoyed it. So I think that's why it got more praise than it did. If you put it next to something like 2020...
Yes, just 2 years later.
Yeah, it's not... great. Yeah, it's really just good, and it was a case of
finally,
you know what? This sets up a good WrestleMania because we've got Nakamura Styles,
which they then failed for both winners. Win or lose, and that also what annoys me as well is the aftermath. Is the AJ Nakamura match is actually bad. It's actually bad. It's not good.
No, it's not.
And then Nakamura's heel turn is fine, and then they botch that, and then Asuka losing is just ridiculous, just the wrong decision.
Yeah. But the idea was that we came out of the Royal Rumble with a lot of optimism and going. This is really good. We're going to get a good road to WrestleMania. And as soon as it was brilliant the way they did it because as soon as he won, like, who do you want to challenge? AJ Styles. Perfect. That's what we all wanted. So I think maybe it's treated a bit too favourably. I don't know. But
if you sit and watch the event now, you would actually sit and go, actually not
but then the zeitgeist is important.
Yes,
you can't watch it in a vacuum. You have to go, what...
That is the problem with wrestling. Yeah. We do watch it in a vacuum. Yeah. And we're judging a lot of these in a vacuum.
You've got to think, what do the fans want to happen? Is this a big moment for other contextual reasons? So I do agree. And I think the women's Royal Rumble is a bad match. It's a bad match.
Particularly that first 15. Yeah. Nothing happens.
It's treated very favourably because it's groundbreaking, and it is, sure, it's historic and all those buzzwords. They
literally did a better one the year after.
They did.
And they barely had any legends turn up in it. They filled it with NXT people, and they had more people on the card. Oh, look, they're all workers. And oh, look, it was a really good match. And it was longer than the men's that year, and it was good. There you go.
I don't disagree with your opinion.
Well, there you go. There's 2 controversial Royal Rumble opinions. Do you like Vince winning? Do you like the 2018? Do I think I've been harsh? Do you think he's been way too generous?
Even you saying it, hearing it out loud, it sounds bad.
It's not great, is it? Anyway, thank you for joining us on our controversial opinion, our safe place. It's our safe place. What is your controversial opinion? What do you think about ours? Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will be controversial in February. Maybe. I can't remember.
Who knows?
I don't know. That's controversial. Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe.